Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein, and I will be your presenter for the next 20 minutes. Today we are going to be looking at some different reporting options that we have in the donations module, specifically in the lists and labels section. Today's webinar will be recorded. So it'll be recorded and cleaned up a little bit and then loaded or uploaded onto our website at churchwindows.com. So feel free to check back at our website in a couple days, and then you can rewatch this or share the link with another person that you think it might be beneficial for them to watch this information as well. Today's information is coming from one of our workbooks, specifically the Donations Workbook 106, and it's pages 27 through 39. So if you would rather have like a hard copy of this, you can definitely go out to churchwindows.com, go under our training workbooks section, and you can purchase the Donations 106 workbook along with other workbooks. It's really nice on that part of the website. You can go in, see the workbook, and then it'll give you a little paragraph of the different topics that are covered within that book. So you can pick and choose which ones you want. You can also bundle them and save some money if you bundle those workbooks together. But again, this is recorded. It'll be available on the website within a week, and that is free. So Kellyanne is logged in with me. She's here to answer questions. So if you do come across a question, feel free to type that into the questions section on your GoToWebinar toolbar, and she will do her best to get you an answer that way. I do ask that you keep your questions topical. If you have a more specific question or something that doesn't have anything to do with the donation reports we're covering, just give us a call on our 1-800 number or shoot us an email to support@churchwindows.com, and that'll be the better path for you to follow to get an answer that isn't specific to what we're doing today. All right, as you can see up in the top right-hand corner, we are in version 21.18.2. This is our most current version. If you're seeing a number smaller than this, you are on an older version, so feel free to contact support and we can help get you up to date. I'm going to go ahead and go into donations so we can get started here. All right, so when donations opens, today's webinar is going to focus specifically up here at the top under Reports Export, and we're going to talk about the three options under the Lists and Labels section. I feel like this is one part in donations that people aren't aware of, or it's really underutilized. There's three really good things in here. So first thing we're going to be talking about is a list account balances. This is a nice report that you can go in and look at the balances per your giving accounts. You can look at them for a specific period, or you can look at them for the whole year. So we'll talk about that. We're going to go into the list giver numbers reports, which is a pretty handy report to see your giver envelope numbers if you use those. And then at the end, we're going to run some labels. So let's click on list account balances. And it's first going to open up to the options tab. So basically what I'm going to do to explain how this works, I'm going to go through each of these tabs across the top and kind of explain what each tab does and the different options that you can pick from to build the report that you're really needing. So we see here in the year box, you can go back and select past years and run a report. So say a finance committee comes to you and they need something run back from the end of 2017. You can easily come in here, swap your year box out, and run whatever year you need. So let's leave it on 2017 just for an example here. And then down at the bottom, you have your date range. So, I mean, you could leave it January through December if you wanted to, but let's go ahead and I'm just going to run it for the last quarter of the year here. So I'm going to do October 2017 through December 2017. You do have some check boxes down here at the bottom. By default, these will be checked. So if you don't want to include inactive counts, you would simply uncheck that box. And also, if you want to leave off any accounts that have a zero balance, you can uncheck that box as well. Let's go up to the columns tab here. And these are all of your available columns that you can add to your report. I think the most commonly used columns are going to be the account, which is going to give you the account ID if you use IDs along with the account name. It's going to give you the period activity based on those months that you selected back on the first tab, and we did October through December. And then it's also going to give you a third column with the year-to-date balance. You do have plenty of other options here you can include. If you want to see the comments that you put in for the giving account, you can use that, whether it's marked inactive or not, whether it's a pledge account, if it's considered tax deductible, and also if it's set to print on statement. If you want to see any of those, you'd simply double click it and move it to the right, and that would include that column on your report. Sort tab, that's pretty self-explanatory. This is going to be the order that your accounts are going to print out in. So you could do account ID, you could do account name, you could also print by period activity if you want to see your accounts with the most money or the highest balance. You could put those up at the top if you wanted. I'm just going to go ahead with account ID. And then I want to show you the detail tab. So in donations, you do have the option to use subtotals. So if you want to organize your giving accounts into subtotals, which we can see here, these are the different subtotals that have been set up for our giving accounts. If you leave all these checked, it's going to print each giving account that makes up the subtotal along with the subtotal name. If you don't care to see the giving accounts print, you can uncheck these boxes and then you will just see the subtotals with the total amount. Okay, I will show you that in a minute so you can get a better idea of how that works. But for now, I'm going to leave everything checked because I want to see the detail. I'm going to go ahead and hit print. And we are going to get a print preview here. So this is the account balance report. Again, the period activity column is going to be based on the period we selected, which is reiterated here up at the top, and then down here on the right we have all of the balances. And again, it's organized by account ID within each subtotal. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I do want to show you how it works without the detail. So I'm going to uncheck all the detail boxes, and I'm going to hit print. And it's going to give me just the totals per my subtotal. Okay. Again, if you have questions, feel free to type those in at the end, and I'll be happy to go back over, but I do want to get moving on to the next topic here so we have enough time to cover everything. So the next thing we are going to talk about is up under lists and labels, and it's the list giver numbers report. Might also be called list envelope numbers. Going to select that. And this report is really handy if you're needing to see the number and who it belongs to. Okay, so by default, when it opens up, it's going to be on this unassigned number in the range. Let's say I want to see what numbers are available between 1 and 50. All I need to do is make sure unassigned numbers in the range is selected. I put in the range I'm looking for. I hit print. And it is just a basic report of what numbers are unassigned to someone as of today and what those numbers are. Okay. Now, you can, of course, adjust this date up at the top. Say you want to see what numbers are available as of the first of the year. If you swap that number to something different, or this date to something different, it is going to tell you the unassigned numbers in this range as of this date. Okay. So keep that in mind. There is some flexibility. All right, let me jump back to today. And I want to show you this assigned numbers option. This is a really handy report in seeing who has what number. If you have assigned numbers for the future, or maybe even for 2019, you can check this box to include their current number and what their next year number is if you want a report that shows both. If you need their address, phone, simply check those to have those included on the report. And off to the right, you can select a range. So say you only want to see the numbers between 1 and 200, you could adjust the second box to 200 and the report would only show you those. Givers tab, this just allows you to put in some criteria like most of our other reports. Say you only want to see people with a status code of active, or you only want members. You could specify that over here on the categories, or use the drop box to put in specific criteria that you need. Columns tab, this is the picker for the columns that you're going to see on the report. So right now my report is going to be giving me a giver column and a current number column. So you can specify that here. If you want to see start dates or end dates, you can definitely move those columns over to the right to include those. Sort tab, this is handy. Some people want their numbers sorted alphabetical. If that's the case, you choose giver name. If you're wanting more of a numerical order, then you would go with the current number option here. Let's leave it on giver name for now. And I'm going to go ahead and hit print. Now keep in mind, I did check on the first tab to include the address and the phone, so we will see that on the report. But this is our report sorted in alphabetical order. It's giving us their name, the address, and the phone number. Now let's say we want a couple more columns. We want to save some paper and have a second column print. You do have the option for that. Let's jump back to the Options tab. Right down here at the bottom where it says number of columns, I can bounce that up to 2. And then let's uncheck address and phone just so you can get an idea of what the basic report looks like. Name, number, okay? Now if you want a numerical sort, you can easily do that by jumping back to the Sort tab, hitting the down arrow, switching it to current number, hitting print. It's going to rebuild your report now sorted in numerical order. Again, if you would rather have your number first, go to the Columns tab, jump current number, above giver name, now current number will be column 1, hit print, and you will have number name. Okay? So that is the giver number report or the envelope number report, depending on the terminology that you use in your database. If you have questions about that, go ahead and type those in, or you wait till the end, we can answer you then. All right, last thing we're going to talk about is labels. The example that I'm going to go over with you today is in the book, starting on page 33. I'm going to show you how to get giver numbers or envelope numbers on your label. I know a lot of people like to stick those on envelope boxes at the end of the year, so I do want to go over that. Again, up at the top, we're going Listen Labels. Now we're choosing labels, and it's going to open up a step 1. If you're familiar with the membership module, this is the exact screen you're going to see when you run reports over in membership. So People tab is where you specify the criteria, part of the criteria of who you're looking for. You can use the drop box to focus in on specific people. Say you only want people with a status code of active, or maybe it's an ELCA status of something. You could choose that here. Over to the right, you do have giver number options here. So since I'm printing labels specifically to put on envelope boxes for our example, I only want people who have a number. So I'm going to remove the check mark to include those without number. You can also put in a range. If you only want people with giver numbers from 1 to 500, you could put that range in. Again, if you just want members, simply uncheck visitors. Let's go up to the Giving and Pledging tab. I will not be changing anything here for today's example, but this does allow you to only pick people who have giving or pledging who in a certain period, or only pledged X amount of dollars or more. All of that can be inputted right on this screen. Also, just a side note here, if you are changing numbers for 2019, so you have gone in and you have reassigned people giver numbers for 2019, and those are the numbers you are wanting to see print on our labels, you would come into this Use Numbers Current As Of box, and you would change this to the start date those 2019 numbers begin, which would be 01/01/2019 most likely. So that's how you get the future numbers to print on labels that you print today. Accounts tab, again, you can pick to only pull people for labels that have given to a particular account by simply double-clicking an account so it moves over here to the right. Then it's only going to look at that specific account. Sort tab, again, sort tab's always important. This is going to be the order that your labels are going to print out in. So since I'm printing labels for my envelope boxes, for me, it's going to be best if it sorts in giver number order. So I'm going to leave that in sort field 1. Bottom right, I'm going to hit next, and that will take me to step 2. And this is where I will customize my label layout to include the giver number along with the name and address. So up at the top, label layout, if we hit the down arrow here, by default, so if you're on our more current version, you are going to have 2 templates in here. You can't delete these templates, okay? These are going to stay in here. They are designed to work with an Avery 5160 label. That's the 30 per page, 3 columns and 10 rows. Feel free to use this one. That's why that's here for you to pick from. But these aren't going to include the giver number. We're going to have to make one that does. So I'm going to come over to the right. I'm going to hit New Label, and the label wizard is going to open. This is going to help us create the labels that we need. If you're using something other than Avery Standard 5160, you're going to use these down arrows, and you're really going to look through that list until you find the size that you need. But for today's example, I'm going to stay with the 5160, and I'm just going to hit Finish here. And then my report designer is going to pop up here. And as we see over here on the left, this is what my label is going to currently print. It's going to currently print the mailing label and the address. So the mailing label is going to be the family name that you typed in on this family's household in membership, okay, on their family record. So a lot of times people use something like Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smith. That is the name that's going to appear. And then below that will be the address information. So to get the giver number field in here, I'm going to select my mailing label and address box, and I'm just going to click and hold on the entire box, and I'm going to scooch it down here. So it's going to give me some space up at the top of the label to have my giver number print. Over here on the right, I'm going to grab this giver number field. It's over here on the far right in my little toolbox. I'm going to click and hold on giver number, and I'm going to drag it over, and I'm going to drop it right here. So it's going to print the person's giver number right above their mailing label and their address. Top left, I'm going to hit Save As. I'm going to put a name in here. Let's call it 5160, mailing label, address, and giver number. I'm going to say OK, and then top right, hit the X to close my designer. And now in my Dropbox, from this point forward, unless I delete it, I will have this label layout to use again in the future. So if I need to rerun my labels, if I need to print something out later in the year, I simply hit the down arrow and I can select this layout from my Dropbox, and that will always give me a label with mailing label, address, and giver number. Right below that, I'm going to choose Giving Unit. I want my labels grouped 1 per giving unit. And then bottom right, I'm going to hit Print. And that will give me my print preview of my people who have giver numbers in numerical order. That's simple as that. All right, we're at 2:18, so we have a couple more minutes here. If you do have any questions, if you'd like me to go over something again, please type that into the question section on your GoToWebinar toolbar, and I'll be happy to get you an answer that way. Also, if you've received the information that you were looking for, feel free to leave the webinar. That's totally fine. And keep in mind too, this is recorded, so it will be cleaned up and put up on the website for you by the end of the week. That's at churchwindows.com. You can watch all of our previously recorded webinars there. There's just hundreds of them out there. We also have documentation that you can look at, and of course you can always purchase our training workbooks. So today's information came from the Donations 106 workbook, pages 27 through 39. And I don't see a single question popping in, so hopefully that's a good thing. The information was clear and you're able to use it. But I'll just sit tight here for another minute and then I will close the webinar. All right. I don't see a question. Looks like a lot of people have left. So I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Oh, you guys are welcome. Thank you for attending. I hope you guys learned something new today that'll help make your job a little bit easier. Thanks again. Bye.